सभी का लर्न नीट IIT JEE with बबीता पर. Today I am here with you chapter 1 Living World of Biology. This chapter is quite important from NEET point of view क्योंकि इस चैप्टर में बहुत सारे MCQs बनते हैं. लेकिन मज़े की बात ये है कि PYQs बहुत कम हैं इस चैप्टर के नीट से, क्योंकि नीट इस चैप्टर को के यहाँ से क्वेश्चंस कम निकालते हैं. लेकिन फिर भी हर साल मतलब लाइक 2-3 साल छोड़ के सरप्राइजिंगली इस चैप्टर से क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, और पिछले 2 साल से इसका एक भी PYQ नहीं आया है, तो मीन्स नेक्स्ट ईयर पक्का ही क्वेश्चन आएगा. हम कह नहीं सकते, लेकिन अकॉर्डिंग टू प्रोबेबिलिटीज़ 99% प्रोबेबिलिटीज़ हैं, एंड दैट वन क्वेश्चन कैन चेंज योर लाइफ. सो इस क्वेश्चन को, इस चैप्टर को बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ना है. NCERT में एक बार 2-3 बार रीडिंग ज़रूर मानी है, और उसके साथ साथ मेन पॉइंट्स को हाईलाइट भी करना है. इस चैप्टर में बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं, उन्हें याद करना आसान नहीं होगा, बट आई विल टेल यू निमोनिक्स easy ways to learn all those examples. So in living world we have first topic we have is the property of interaction. Property of interaction states that all living phenomenon are due to interactions of ये दिखाता है कि लिविंग डोमेन जो है वो अलग अलग चीज़ों की इंटरेक्शन से बनी है, जिसमें नॉन लिविंग डोमेन के भी कुछ पार्टिकल्स इन्वॉल्व हैं. तो मैं आपको विद हिरार्की मेथड आई विल टेल यू. So first of all we have subatomic particles. Being the students of chemistry, you must be knowing the subatomic particles are none other than the electron, proton and neutron. After subatomic particles we have atoms. Here we have atoms. And after atoms we have molecules. Means subatomic particles come together to form atoms, which further come together to form molecules. Now these molecules, first of all let me tell you that these atoms, molecules and subatomic particles come under the non-living domain. Now these molecules will constitute to form organelles. Cell organelles, these are none other than the cell organelles like ribosomes and all. Ribosomes are not cell and then endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, etc. After that we have these cell organelles coming together to form cells. So the organelles get together to form cells. Cells get together to form tissues in a body. These tissues further combine to form organs, which have their own specific functions. Organs with likewise functions come together to form organ systems. Which have the in charge of forming organisms, living organisms. So from subatomic particles to atoms to organisms, it is a long race, and in this long race from cell organelles to organisms we have the living domain. The hierarchical chart is quite important. Let's revise once. We have subatomic particles, electrons, protons and neutrons getting together to form atoms, getting together to form molecules, combining to form cell organelles. Then these cell organelles lead to the formation of body cells. Group of cells with common origin and common structure form tissues. Tissues further help in formation of organs. Organs with similar functions form organ system. and different organ systems in a body get together to form organisms, which is a whole living combination. So from organelles till organisms we have living domain, and from subatomic particles till molecules we have non-living domain. That's it. Now that we have some properties of living organisms, so the first property is they are self-replicating. They are self-replicating. Means they form new progenies. Progenies refer to the daughter cells. So they form new progenies. Then the second property of living organisms are they are ever evolving. The living organisms are ever evolving. Means they always keep on changing according to the environmental conditions. They always keep on undergoing evolution. They always keep on undergoing evolution. Means they change their habits according and their nature according to the changes in the environment. Because if living organisms do not change according to the changing environmental conditions, then that day would not be far away when they would be put in the list of extinct organisms. So did happen with the dodos and the dinosaurs ages ago. Dinosaurs and dodos used to be present, but they could not change with the changing environment. And so they had to get extinct from this earth. The same will happen with living organisms if they keep on doing this. So the second is they are self-regulating. They can perform their own metabolism. Their body functions they can perform on their own. This is self-regulating. Then they have consciousness. Remember, there are two words. One is consciousness, which is the ability to sense the environment, and the second is self-consciousness, means ability to sense themselves. So consciousness is seen in all living organisms, whereas point to be noticed is that self-consciousness is seen only in human beings. Human beings are the only living organisms which have self-consciousness. This is an important point, ultra important point. I'm marking triple star. What we have now is the diversity in living organisms. So the living organisms are somehow linked. All living organisms on this earth. I'm writing in short diagrammatically so that it would be easier for me to write and easier for you to understand as well. So the living organisms are interlinked. They share common genetic material. Common genetic material doesn't mean that they have common type of chromosomes. They have different kinds of chromosomes, but the material, the base pairs or ATGC, all are present in all DNAs of all organisms. We have just A, T, G and C. But in different organisms, the amount of A, T, G and C is varying degrees. So they all have sharing common genetic material A, T, G and C, but to varying degrees. This is important, to varying degrees. Now that we have biodiversity, so biodiversity is made up of two words. First is bio, which means life, and the second is diversity, which means forms. So what biodiversity means is life forms. So the definition of biodiversity can be written as: it is the number and types of living organisms. Number and types of living organisms present on our earth. So biodiversity refers to the number and type, different numbers and different types of living organisms that are present on our planet. So girls and guys, answer a question of mine. Do you know what actually IUCN is? Oh, perhaps you don't know, but let me tell you. IUCN is the International Union. It is the International Union of Conservation of Nature. I for international, U for union, C for conservation, and for nature and natural resources. So actually IUCN refers to the International Union of Conservation of nature and natural resources. It basically describes the flora and fauna, the number of flora and fauna present. So according to the IUCN, constantly known and described species on the earth, constantly known and described species on the earth are 1.7 to 1.8 million. Out of these species, 13% are the plant species and the rest are the animal species. So we have 1.2 million animal species, 1.2 million means we have 87%, and 1.2 million a number, out of which the largest group is insects. So the largest group is insects, that is 1.025 million, 1.025 million. And in plant species, we have 0.5 million in plant species. And the most numerous ones are the angiosperms. The angiosperms are the most numerous ones in the plant species. तो फ्रेंड्स अपना नेक्स्ट टॉपिक होगा व्हाई डू वी नीड क्लासिफिकेशन. क्लासिफिकेशन क्यों चाहिए हमें, लेकिन ये जानने के लिए पहले ये जानना ज़रूरी है कि व्हाट एक्चुअली क्लासिफिकेशन इज़. So classification refers to the process by which organisms are grouped into categories or taxa, taxon singular, taxa plural. So classification is the process by which organisms are grouped into categories or taxa based on some characters which are easily observable. So easily observable characters don't mean that the number of eyes, nose, hands, size, color and all. It also refers to some anatomical characters and some genetic characters as well. That is a classification. So before knowing what is the need of classification, we need to know what is the process of classification as well. We knew the definition straight away. Now we are here with the process of classification. So after knowing what classification is, we need to know the process of classification. So the first process of classification is taxonomy. It is made up of two Greek words. First is taxis and the second is nomos, where taxis means arrangement and nomos means rules. This is what actually a taxonomy is. It is made up of these two are the Greek words. So these are the Greek words. Now what we have is the definition of taxonomy. So taxonomy refers to the branch of science that deals with the study of principles and processes of classification. Means it deals with study of classification, the rules made for classification, the processes followed. So it is a study of the principles and processes of classification. Principles and procedures. That's all about taxonomy. Now guys, do you know who coined taxonomy? It was done by A.P. de Candolle. A.P. de Candolle. And the father of taxonomy is considered as Carolus Linnaeus. Soon you'll know why he is considered as the father of taxonomy. He has given great contributions to the field of taxonomy. So there are 4 basic steps in taxonomical process. First of them is characterization. The second one is identification. The third one is classification or grouping. And the last one is nomenclature, the short trick for remembering number wise. The steps is CICN. Just remember CICN. And characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature. It's quite important. You should be knowing these 4 steps. Now we have types of taxonomy. First is classical taxonomy and the second is modern taxonomy. So first let's go to the classical taxonomy. So according to the classical taxonomy, we classify organisms on the basis of observable, morphological, characters. Morphological refers to external features which are visible to us. So morphological refers to the external features. Now we have the modern taxonomy. So it is based on the external and internal features. So it is based on both external and internal features. The second is cell structure. Means modern taxonomy is based on cell structure, ecological information of organisms, ecological information of different organisms. For example, we have producers. In producers we keep plants, and we have consumers as well, where we keep animals. So we have producers and consumers, where we keep plants and animals separately. After that we have life or developmental history of an organism. So we have developmental history of an organism, and the branch that deals with the study of the developmental history of the organism is called as branch that deals with the study is called as ontogeny. Here we have ontogeny. The word systematics has been derived from a Latin word systema, and this word systema means systematic arrangement of organisms. Here means in general view, literally systema means systematic arrangement, but here systema means systematic arrangement of organisms. Here in the context of living world, systematics refers to the systematic arrangement of organisms. It actually is a branch of science, that deals with the diversity of organisms. Taxonomy also does the same, right? So it does a branch of science that deals with the diversity of organisms and also evolutionary relationships among them. Means if we take it very commonly, then we can say that taxonomy plus evolutionary relationships of organisms form systematics. That actually is the description of systematics. Evolutionary or relationships of organisms among themselves. And the evolutionary relationships of organisms are known as phylogeny. So we can say that taxonomy plus phylogeny together form systematics. After that we have, when was this term systematics first used? So the term systematics was first used by Carolus Linnaeus in his book whose title was Systema Naturae. Systema refers to systematics and naturae refers to nature. So the book's meaning in English would be systematics in nature. So another advanced version of biosystematics or of systematics is biosystematics or neosystematics or experimental systematics as we call it. So according to this biosystematics or neosystematics or experimental systematics we have, it is based on all characters. All characters refer to characters like morphological, cytological. Cytological refers to, morphological refers to external appearance. Cytological refer to a cellular organization. Then ecological refers to a mode of nutrition, habits and habitats and all. Then biochemical and genetical. Biochemical refers to a chemical composition, and genetical, it refers to evolutionary and then phylogeny as well, plus phylogeny are evolutionary characters. Then the term taxonomy was coined by Julian Huxley. It is the basic unit of, in this the basic unit of classification is subspecies. Whereas in systematics we have it as species, so it's a plus point, an important one. So we have in systematics basic unit of classification is species, and in general we consider species only, whereas when biosystematics is specified, then consider it as subspecies. Okay, this is an important one because there are chances of this coming in MCQs. So in MCQs, if it comes this way, that we have what is the basic unit of classification, then say species. But when it says that what is the basic unit of classification in biosystematics, then do select the subspecies option. So the three methods of classification have been done: taxonomy, systematics, and biosystematics. These are the all three methods of classification which are widely accepted. Taxonomy being the oldest one, then systematics, and the latest being biosystematics. Systematics is the most accepted method of classification of organisms. After we are done with classification, let's proceed to nomenclature. So the literal meaning of nomenclature is naming. Here scientific names are given to organisms which are universally accepted. So organisms are given scientific names which are universally accepted all over the earth, in each and every country. And its rules for nomenclature are provided in international codes. Different international codes for different classes or kingdoms of organisms. So we have all these international codes together. Let's proceed. So here we have different international codes. The first being the ICBN, or the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. It is the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. It has rules for naming plants, algae, and fungi as well. Then we have ICZN, or the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. Which deals with the nomenclature or the naming of animals. Then we have the International Code for Nomenclature of Cultivated Plants, or ICNCP, International Code for Nomenclature of Cultivated Plants. So friends, what do the cultivated plants refer to? So cultivated plants mean plants which are crossed over by us scientists, so hybrid or interbred plants, plants of good quality which are crossed over by scientists, botanists, I mean scientists. So here we have these three which refer to the eukaryotic nomenclature. Eukaryotic, EU refers to the eukaryotic nomenclature, and these two refer to the prokaryotic nomenclature. What these two basically are we have ICNB. Here ICNB refers not to the ICBN. ICBN and ICNB, remembering these is always a confusion. I don't know about others, but it's a confusion for me. So remember that plants are of higher quality. They get in a higher kingdom. So plants have been previous to, and whereas the bacterium, they have always the low status than the plants. So their B comes after and. So ICNB refers to the International Code for Nomenclature of Bacteria. And at last we have our viruses. Viruses are acellular. Considering them as prokaryotes would be a grave mistake. So please don't consider them as prokaryotes. We have them as viruses. So viruses, it is the international code ICVCN is the international code for virus classification and nomenclature. Virus classification and nomenclature. That's all about our coding system, international codes. We have ICBN, ICZN, ICNCP, ICNB and ICVCN. That's it. So friends, अब nomenclature के भी कई सारे types होते हैं. The first one we have is binomial nomenclature. As the name suggests, it has two words. The bi word suggests two. So the binomial nomenclature has two words in it. So it is a universally accepted naming system these days. It is the universally accepted naming system. It was first proposed by Caspar Bohin. First proposed by Caspar Bohin in his book, whose name was Pinax, Pianax. It was the book in which Caspar Bohin first proposed the universally accepted binomial nomenclature. Then we have, it was established or given by. It was proposed by Caspar Bohin, but he just proposed it and got lost. Got lost doesn't mean that the nomenclature lost importance, but Carolus Linnaeus worked hard to establish the binomial nomenclature for different organisms. after a lot of hard work, he finally was able to achieve it. And he gave some books wherein he wrote the rules for binomial nomenclature. First of the books was, we have Philosophia Botanica. Philosophia Botanica, which contains all the rules for binomial nomenclature. Then he gave Species Plantarum. Species Plantarum in 1753, wherein he gave scientific names of plants. So first what he gave was for Philosophia Botanica, where he wrote rules. Then Species Plantarum, where he gives scientific names of plants according to the binomial nomenclature. Then after 5 years, in 1758, he wrote Systema Naturae, the 10th edition of Systema Naturae. It is 10th edition is important. So in the 10th edition of Systema Naturae in 1758, he gave all the scientific names of animals. Scientific names of animals. Here is all about how Carolus Linnaeus established the binomial nomenclature system. Then in this binomial system of nomenclature, we had two components. So these binomial names had two components. Here we have binomial names. Which had two components. Generic name and specific epithet, wherein the generic name represented the genus of the organism and specific epithet represented the species. So generic name genus and specific epithet species. For example, we have mango or Mangifera indica. Here the first word is the generic name or genus, and the second word is the specific epithet or species. So friends, let me tell you that in this binomial names, generic name has the first letter is capital and specific epithet has the first letter is small. The two letters have to be separately underlined. Along with these rules, we have other rules as well, which we will be doing in our next video. So let's call an end. Before that, let me tell you that these all three books of Carolus Linnaeus are quite important books. So pay attention to these. So friends, bye bye.